Well, I said I would talk about it, and here I am. Bountiful Nature Maiden Jasmine. Probably the card I'm known most for in the Arakai TCG, and not without reason. You see, until now, all the videos of my channel have covered the reboot of Arakai, where we've been rebalancing and fixing the game at a foundational level. Redesigning cards and just overall making the game more fun. But there was an original draft. 15 sets worth, actually. Before all the rebooting and changes, there was Legacy format, which isn't really played anymore. But back when it was the main format, Jasmine was the card I built my deck around for months, arguably years. But the version on screen isn't all that impressive nowadays, but the game used to look a lot different. In today's video, I'm going to discuss the origin of Jasmine, her ancient playstyle, how she treated Arakai's first Tier 0 deck, and all the controversies surrounding her in the original run of the game. So grab a snack, relax, and get ready for some Arakai TCG history. Bountiful Nature Maiden Jasmine began her life as a level 5 with 3 drawback and 25k power that read as follows. Expend 2 Spirit. When invoked, target 2 allies in your Spirit that are level 3 or lower, invoke those targets. Level 1 allies invoked by this effect gain 4,000 power until end of turn. This was insane, even for the time period. But keep in mind, Arakai used to look a lot different. Games were faster, combos were more intense, ramp was commonplace, and even cards like Drazari used to be way more unchecked. Still, as strong as this was the version of Jasmine that got to exist for several sets. I splashed her into Astro decks for consistency, Haven for defense, and really anything that was good with level 3s. It wasn't until one day that things would change. Temporal Halt was not always the post field we know it to be now. Its original version was the following. Where a task cost of expend 5 Spirit, you would just skip your opponent's turn. Granted, you didn't get a Spirit phase, but we had Time Walk in Arakai. And nobody played it, because most people thought expend 5 was unobtainable. So it sat as a random card that nobody cared about, until I did. One morning, whilst I was still a young 20-year-old, decided to come up with a wicked brew. For 4 hours, I tested over and over again and created Temporal Jasmine. A deck that focused on resolving Jasmine turn 3, targeting a bunch of cards that at the time did multi-attack for minimal cost, doing a shit ton of damage, then resolving Temporal Halt and killing the opponent, doing an average of 23 to 25 damage in a single turn. This was all possible through expending 8 Spirit due to all the unexpend cards I had and just Spirit management in general. And in a game where your starting life was 20, this was pretty problematic. After some finalizations, I was able to do this in about 7 to 10 test hands, and even if you did have the cards to survive this onslaught, you would likely be down so much life anyways that victory would be near impossible. This was, for a single afternoon, the only Tier 0 format Arakai ever had, which was immediately nerfed to the ground, with Temporal Halt being immediately suspended and changed entirely, and Jasmine being nerfed to only invoking a single ally, and most of the multi-attackers being hard nerfed. These didn't happen all at once, but over time, Jasmine just kept being a problem even after Temporal Halt's demise, constantly being a face of the metagame in various other decks. She went on to receive several nerfs, some making her discard or exile or invoke worse stuff. Or only one thing, over and over, changes to make her and like 57 other fucking cards, all because of this fucking bitch. She saw play in Cadenza decks, Horror, Oracle, Aquaform, Dragon Lords, Androplush. It never fucking ended. Over and over, Jasmine was in the meta, no matter how much we nerfed it. Until one day, she settled on becoming a level 4 that can invoke level 1 beasts or shamans only, and Jasmine from then on became the single best turn 2 play for shaman for the rest of Legacy, getting several support cards, evolutions, war drops, and a whole deck style that even at the end of the game was very good. This card from set 2 was still competitively viable all the way until the end of the game, purely due to my own hubris and bias for a random set 2 shaman. As a result, no other level 4 shamans ever saw widespread play. Illyria saw some brief play in Oracle, Orthon was a choice, but everything compared to level 4 invoking level 1 was a large toolbox, didn't really stand a much of a chance, which leads us to today. While set 1 testing was going on in the new standard format, we began to look at the set 2 card, returning to the monster herself. I decided for the reboot I would make things right and correct the injustice I had done to the Shaman card pool. Shaman wasn't too strong, but she was so generic and easy to use that it invalidated level 4 Shamans forever. So one day, while I was enjoying a pleasant shower, thought up the current version we see today. No longer invoking for free, now having a restriction, albeit no cost, and leaving room for future Shamans to have some limelight. No more Jasmine Monopoly, no more memes, no more wife. That's not to say Jasmine is a bad card, far from it. I think in set 2 she's a staple at least 2 copies. I think in the end, I was just really proud of my work. What I neglected to mention is, I designed Jasmine. I am her creator. And I was young and protective of my work. I wanted it to be good, to be competitive, to not have a piece of my work be relegated to binder file. To me, having a card I made be bad meant that I was bad. I was scared. I was younger and couldn't look past how the cards I made affected the game at large, and didn't see how a card I made at set 2 being viable till set 15 could be a problem. And I only really cared about my pet decks. I was designing cards for me, not for the game. Time will tell how much, if any, of the later Jasmine stuff gets printed. If it does, it will almost certainly be changed, but one thing's for sure, Jasmine isn't going to leave a black stain on the reboot like she did Legacy. I'm older now and wiser, and can view the game a bit more objectively than I could back in my early 20s. I think she's a lesson that I had to learn as a designer to not associate myself with my creations, and to just be more mindful of the future when designing cards. And how even if a card isn't meta or not great, doesn't mean that it makes me bad as a person or as a designer. And just overall, to not make cards that are just problematic forever. At least that's my hope. Time will tell if I make good on this statement. Hopefully, I can have a better track record moving forward into the reboot of the game. But if there's one thing I have to say that I think everyone will agree with, fuck Alice McLoremaster.